Girl, what a powerful emotion gender envy can be when we see someone who embodies everything we want to be, how we want to express ourselves, and how suffocating that can feel. Whether real or fictional, this emotion can seemingly strike absolutely whenever, and it can feel devastating. But it's not something we're powerless against, and under the right circumstances, we can use it to our advantage. Hello my darlings, and welcome to my corner of the internet, where I share all that I have learned and discovered about myself as a trans woman. And well, I imagine like most trans people, I too have experienced gender envy, but I have to admit now I just generally experience regular envy, and I'd like to help you get to that point too, or at least try. So, what is gender envy anyway? Even for those who are familiar with this emotion, I think it's important to break it down and understand it a bit more. In my opinion, a basic definition would be feeling envy over someone's gender expression. But what is gender expression? Gender expression is effectively the way we express and present our gender. That's from our clothes, the way we talk, our body language, our makeup, or other types of accessories. It's essentially the way we present ourselves. It's also important to note here that although gender identity and gender expression do often align, there are those who do not. And this is perfectly valid. Just think about kind of femboys, tomboys, that kind of thing. Now, whilst this basic definition is nice and concise, I do think it lacks a slight something, because it extends a bit further than just our gender expression. I think it can extend to physical characteristics that we often associate with agender. So for trans femmes, they might get envious of having breasts, hips, a slightly rounder face, and trans mascs can get a bit jealous of facial hair, flat chest, maybe some muscles, kind of things like that. And then I think I'd even say it goes even further of that, of getting envious of the way that someone's gender is perceived and how they're treated because of that. We can get jealous that someone's treated like a woman or a man, or something in between. Like with regular envy, gender envy comes with this feeling of inadequacy, wishing that you had something that someone else wanted, perhaps a sense of injustice, or even inadequacy. But gender envy goes a bit further because we can so easily get lost in it because it triggers our gender dysphoria. It can make us believe that we'll never be able to achieve what we want. But this isn't true. It takes a lot of time and effort, but you can become the person you're meant to be, a person you're happy with. But how do we deal with gender envy? Like all emotions, we can't control their initial impact or when they hit, but we can process and manage them. As I said earlier, it can often provoke our gender dysphoria and cause us to spiral. The first thing we need to do is recenter ourselves, take some deep breaths, focus on our surroundings, and try to recenter ourselves. Some things that can help with this are called grounding techniques. One of the most accessible ones is called 7-11 breathing, where you breathe in to the count of 7 and breathe out to the count of 11. If you'd like to try it with me, then I'll give you a quick demonstration. So, we breathe in for 7, and out for 11. And you should be able to feel yourself kind of calm down as your body almost forces itself to slow down. But you want to repeat that for a few minutes. And if you can't reach the 7 and 11 count, you can reduce the count down. The most important thing is just that the in-breath is shorter than the out-breath. Another very accessible method is called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. So this method is where you just kind of go through your senses and list 5 things you can hear, 4 things you can see, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, and 1 you can taste. And you want to focus on the things that you don't normally notice. So, for me, that might be my cat snoring. These methods are grounding techniques, and there are many others out there, so if you don't feel like these ones work, feel free to search up others. They're also really useful for helping managing anxiety and panic attacks and just general stress. So it's a really good thing to learn just for general life too. Now that we've recentered ourselves, it's still not plain sailing, but it's time to kind of have a think about what caused it, and how we can process that. Was it someone's outfit? Perhaps you can incorporate some of their look into your own style. Did someone have some flawless makeup? Well, perhaps it's time to learn a new look and not use the same one every day. Was it someone's hairstyle? Well, perhaps you can talk to your hairdresser at the next appointment, or even get a wig. Maybe it's someone's voice. Well, perhaps it's time to sit down and finally do that voice training. I know it's difficult, but you got this. There are so many parts of our gender expression that we can control, and it's important to turn that envy into inspiration, something tangible that we can work towards in order to combat that emotion so it doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, I understand that it's reality that not everyone can easily access these things, that maybe they aren't out yet or don't feel comfortable or safe experimenting, and that's perfectly valid. But maybe little by little you can experiment in the safety of your own room, even just planning outfits online, something to buy when you're finally ready to take that step, can just give you a future to look forward to, something tangible and concrete that'll be there waiting for you. Just know that the present isn't forever and you can work towards what you want. This touches on transition goals. They're pretty self-explanatory, they're goals for your transition. So kind of the way you want to dress, makeup, speak, pretty much everything that you can control. And these can go slightly into body types as well. Perhaps you want to appear more butch, muscular, skinny, curvy. All are completely valid, and there is some control we have over our body shape. Transition goals can be great. They give us something tangible to work towards, kind of can help us find an idea of ourselves. Most cis girls start growing up and discovering themselves through those awkward teenage years, but we often have to do it a bit later, so it's good to have some almost shortcuts so we can experiment a bit more quickly and a bit more age appropriately. Not that there's anything wrong with the baby trans phase. Enjoy yourself to a maximum during this stage. Really, discovering yourselves is amazing, and even if in a few years you look back and cringe, it'll have been worth it. Obviously, transition goals are pretty exclusive to trans people, but having goals to work towards in life is not exclusive. Cis people go to the gym to put on muscle, to get fitter, to be more of the person they want to be, as well as they have fashion icons. For everyone, having some sort of inspiration helps us work towards who we want to be and being happier with ourselves. Now, with all goals, and especially transition goals, there's a really dangerous trap we can fall into, and that's feeling like we failed if we don't meet those exact goals. But the thing is these goals are there to help you find yourself. You're not becoming an imitation. Find your own style, find a body shape, a voice that works for you, and the one that you're happy with. You don't need to fulfill arbitrary targets to be happy with yourself. There's an infinite ways of expressing yourself and being happy with yourself, and all are valid. It's also worth noting to try and keep our transition goals realistic, especially when it comes down to our body. Unrealistic beauty standards are everywhere. They're equally present for cis people, but unfortunately a lot does come down to genetics, although I have to admit, trans people do have a bit of an extra hurdle to jump over. But that's okay. You don't have to reach those beauty standards to be beautiful or to be happy. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to accept, but you need to, that your height is kind of fixed. Feminizing HRT can shrink some people, but it's very anecdotal, and for instance, I haven't changed height since I started HRT. I'm still 5'11". Just try and keep in mind that cis people don't choose their genetics either. They still can't choose their height, and plenty of cis people are unsatisfied with their height too. But we can all find a way to love and accept these things that we can't change. It doesn't prevent us from being happy. It does take some work, admittedly, but it's for sure not impossible. And there are for sure plenty of things that we can control, especially with our fitness and the amount of muscle that we have. It's not easy, but we can do it. Also, I really hate to be the one to break it to you, but you're not going to turn into a cute anime girl or a cat girl or a puppy girl. Just doesn't happen, I'm afraid. There is another problematic element that I'd like to touch on here as well, and that's the use of gender envy and transition goals as compliments. Unfortunately, some people need to hear this, but jealousy is not a compliment. It's understandable and valid that these feelings are brought up, but the way you express them and use them as compliments is not the correct way to manage them. You have a responsibility to manage your emotions well and not hurt others. If you tell someone they give you gender envy, you're essentially telling them that they make you feel bad for just existing and being who they are. And that puts a lot of weight on the other person. It's not a compliment. Although it's not your intent, you're essentially forcing this negative emotion and blaming it on the other person, and that's not fair. Instead, try your best to give a compliment about something that they've chosen, maybe the way they've styled their hair, the outfit that they've chosen, or the way they've done their makeup. But if you can't bring yourself to make a meaningful comment, that's okay. You don't have to say anything at all. Now, with transition goals, or well, calling someone goals or transition goals, I think it's a little less problematic. But when you're using it globally, you're implying that they should be a goal for everyone. I think you're essentially prescribing that everyone should seek to aspire to have this one goal, but everyone has a different way of expressing themselves and a way they want to express themselves, and they're all valid. Once again, I think if you want to express a compliment because you feel like someone is their goals, maybe talk about how their outfit inspired your own, or how the way they talk inspired you to go and do voice training. I don't know. Something like that means something. Essentially, just treat the person you're talking to as if they have thoughts and feelings of their own. As you work towards these goals and slowly become who you're meant to be, the feelings of gender envy and gender dysphoria will slowly become less frequent. Essentially, overcoming these feelings is working out what causes them and working to combat them, to change what we can to beat them. Things can be slow and difficult, and unfortunately access to HRT isn't always easy, but it's possible. Try your best to stay positive and know that there is a future that you're working towards. Where I am currently in my transition, I very rarely get gender envy because I'm confident in myself and I know I can walk towards happiness if I put in the effort. I still have gender dysphoria from time to time, but it's a lot more manageable and it's never really triggered by other people from that gender envy anymore. In fact, it's just general insecurities that I have now, and admittedly that was a strange transition to go from these things that provoke gender dysphoria to just general insecurity. And it is really thanks to all of the effort that I've put in. The effort I put into developing my style, to treat my hair right and style it properly, see the right person, and then work on my voice as well. I am still developing my style, my voice still isn't quite where I want it to be, and I really want to get fitter, but I know these are things that I can control and I can work towards. Me and plenty other trans people out there are living proof that gender envy and gender dysphoria doesn't have to last forever, and it doesn't have to last forever for you either. There's nothing special about me or anyone else that meant we could do it and you can't. You deserve happiness and you can reach it. And so once again, we come to the end of the video. If you liked it, please give it a like, maybe subscribe whilst you're down there, and if you have any advice, feel free to leave it in the comments below, or if you have any questions or want me to further clarify things, just leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. In any case, I think that's it for today, and hope to see you soon. Bye!